Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I hope you're all doing well. We're going to be starting the stream here in just a moment and start the class. Today we're going to be discussing working with buyers, buyer brokerage agreement, showing agreement, mainly buyers, and working with buyers is going to be the topic for today's class. So give me a few more moments here and I'll start the stream and we'll begin talking about documents and topics about buyers. All right. Let me just make sure the stream is running okay here so that everyone can see everything. All right. Perfect. This looks pretty good. Just make sure it looks all right. And then I'll begin talking and we could go from there. Just give me one moment. Just want to make sure the quality is good as far as the visuals so that you could see everything that I'm doing. Give me a moment. Just bear with me to make sure here. All right, it looks okay. So before we begin the class and stream, as always, take a quick 30 seconds to talk about our company. Our company is Niz Realty Inc. We're licensed at the time of this stream in the state of Florida, hopefully future states in the not too far future. So we're a licensed brokerage. We service the entire state of Florida, all 67 counties. All of our agents receive 100% of their real estate commission. We only charge a transaction fee and either a monthly or an annual subscription fee. It's very small, so you keep the majority of your profits in your transaction. And we have the class here every Tuesday and Thursday. It's open to the public from 7 to around 8:30, depending on time and topics that we're discussing. So feel free to contact us if you're interested in 100% commission and license in the state of Florida for a free confidential consultation. We're more than happy to speak with you. Other than that, if you enjoy the content in the stream here, please feel free to click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you any money, not a single penny, just to click the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, ask questions in the chat, really anything positive. It doesn't cost you anything but a quick second of your time, and it helps out the stream. So if you like the content here, you find it useful or helpful, that would be much appreciated as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start the class, and we'll go from there and start discussing about today's topics. So today we're going to be talking about working with buyers. The first document I'm going to be discussing here is the showing agreement. Let's see if I can pull it up here so you start looking at that and discussing it a little bit. So here's the showing agreement. So we're going to be talking about working with buyers and when to use this form, when to not use this form. Basically, the first thing that I like to start discussing is when working with buyers, whether you're a new realtor or you've been doing this for a long time, essentially when you're working with buyers, you're technically, working for free. You're going out, you're showing homes, and all this costs your time, gas money, which we all know gas prices are expensive these days. So regardless of where you're getting leads from, I've talked about that in previous videos, and we could talk a little bit about today as far as getting leads and working with buyers or renters if you're doing rentals and leases, is that it could take quite a bit of time and money just driving places, doing the research, trying to find listings and working with buyers. So you're essentially working for free, and a lot of times a lot of realtors, whether you're new or whether you are a veteran, been doing this for many years, many decades, most of the time, with residential at least, you don't have any type of documentation that has like a binding agreement or entitles you to a commission. And what's happened to maybe some of realtors, maybe yourself, I know it's happened to me in the past when I first got started in real estate, is you could be working with buyers and you could be showing them properties, and you might invest some time and energy in taking them places, but then you found out later that they had a brother or a sister or a relative or a friend that was a realtor, and they're going to use that realtor to help them do the transaction, and they'll be getting the commission, and you basically just wasted your time showing them properties or whatever the case may be. Maybe you were buying leads from online, or you were doing your own advertising, and essentially these clients wasted your time. So before I start filling out the showing agreement, that's a little bit of what is important and why you would use this agreement, is because you don't want to run into a situation that you're working with the public, you meet people that you don't know, and you don't want people to waste your time. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have anybody and everyone sign something before you go and take them out to show them a property, but it's definitely good to possibly do one depending on the situation. Because if let's say you're buying leads from Zillow or something, and someone contacts you to see a property, and you're immediately telling them to sign something like this, a lot of times they'll just maybe go look for another realtor who's not going to make them sign anything, and they're just interested in seeing the property. But it depends. Sometimes if a client just wants to see a property and is not being cooperative, it can be a little bit difficult. So you really have to judge it situation to situation and take it from there. So the first thing I would advise definitely is if you're buying leads or you're doing your own advertising, is to it's hard to tell somebody to sign something in the beginning, especially if you don't know each other. What I'd recommend is you could do at least one showing or meet them one time at a property. You could have them sign the showing agreement so that you're entitled to your a commission from the listing office with this agreement. But like I said, you couldn't steer people away or scare them if you asked them to sign something immediately. So I'd recommend do at least maybe one showing when you first meet individuals, or meet them one time somewhere before you ask them to sign anything, and try to build a rapport. Have like a conversation and see where their head's at, where how the business rapport is, and see if you both can work together. If the conversation's not going well, they seem uncooperative, they don't really want to answer questions, and it's just the situation is just not feeling good or looking good, you can't help everybody, and not everyone's made to work with each other. Some people get along together and some don't. So in those situations, you only wasted at least one showing or one initial meeting, and seeing where you could build a rapport from there. After the first initial meeting or the first initial showing, then you could possibly walk into the situation where you would ask them to sign a showing agreement here, or a buyer brokerage agreement. You don't necessarily have to. I myself and many realtors I work with, they just go off of a verbal agreement and the verbal rapport that they build with their clients. And you don't feel like it's not necessary. Your clients are not going to circumvent you from the deal, and that's the whole purpose of the showing agreement or a buyer brokerage agreement. Is you don't want any potential client to circumvent you out of the contract or the business, because the last thing you want to be doing is investing your time and money doing showings or anything, and then they try to circumvent you out of the deal by getting another realtor when you already invested your time and introduced them to the properties that you showed them. So that's one thing you want to be conscious about, and you want to definitely avoid, is being circumvented out of the transaction when you've showed them and introduced them to the property, and basically you've done some work there, so you should be compensated for your work regardless if they're going to use you as their realtor or not. So this showing agreement is a good document to use. Our brokerage, if you're a member of our brokerage, we have our own documents for avoiding clients from circumventing you out of the deal. We use it for residential and commercial properties. If you're a part of our brokerage, you can contact me and I'll give you a copy of that. If you're not, sorry, it's for members of our brokerage only. Maybe you're interested in joining, but that's strictly for our brokerage members. But maybe your broker has one too if you're in another brokerage and watching this video. But if not, you could use this showing agreement or a buyer brokerage agreement, which we'll discuss next. So let's start filling this out a little bit, and then I'll talk a little bit more about just relationship with buyers, working with buyers. So this form is fairly easy, to showing agreement. It's only like, I think, one page. Yeah, the second page is just signatures. So let's start filling this out. parties, let's say the buyer is Billy Bob, just put a placeholder name there. The agreement, you could put whatever time frame down in here. Today's the 23rd of June, so let's say we want to make it for 1 month. You could do it for 1 month. I'd recommend doing for this nothing longer than a year. So for right now, let's just say it's going to the let's just say to the end of July, 31st of July. So just put the date there. The broker, you put the company name here, so you'll put your brokerage name here if you're with our brokerage, Niz Realty Inc. I also like to put your name here, so I put like parentheses John Doe. Let's say John Doe is the agent. You put your name there in replace of John Doe as sales associate, or you could put realtor or something like that. Whatever you prefer, sales associate. I just like to recommend putting your name there, so it's clarified that you're the agent involved there. Introduce buyer to the following properties. You just put the addresses here of the property, whatever, 123 Happy Street, Miami, Florida. Just putting a placeholder here. You put one address there. You can put another address here, 456. Whatever, and so forth. So you just put the multiple address. Maybe you show them 2 or 3 addresses, and you want them to sign this showing agreement, so that basically the point of this agreement is that you've shown them this property, and because you've introduced them to this property that they would have otherwise had no knowledge about, that you're entitled to commission pretty much for showing them this property and introducing them to this property, whether they use you to purchase it or not. If you invested your time going out there and doing the showing, you should be compensated if they get under contract and purchase the property. There's nothing really to fill out here. You could read these paragraphs under broker's obligations, buyer's obligations, the compensation, whatever the commission is being offered on the property, you put it there. So let's say the property they're offering at 2.5% commission, you put that there. If it's something different, put it 2%, 3%, 5%, whatever it is, you put it down in here. And that's pretty much it. You put the date down here that when the copy was returned to the buyer, let's say on the 23rd of June, same day, by personal delivery, whatever it is. Then you just date it, sign it. You can have your broker sign it, and the buyers, of course, date it and sign it, and you can fill out the address information if you want. But that's it, and of course, initial every page, as it says down here. But that's it as far as the showing agreement. This is just, you mainly use this if you don't really know your clients too well, and you just want, they just want you to do a quick showing for them, and you want to be entitled to your commission, because you could go out to, let's say this property address here, 123 Happy Street. Let's say a client, a potential client contacts you from your advertising, and they say, hey, I want to go see this property at Happy Street. And you just take them out there and show them the property. You did no documentation, no showing agreement. You just went out there on a verbal agreement and showed them the property. And they say, oh yeah, the place looks very nice. Thank you for showing us the property. You close the door, you leave, and then you never hear from them again. And then maybe they end up purchasing the property. And they use their realtor that they already knew that it just wasn't available that day, and they used you to do the showing. Or they had a relative who had a real estate license who they ended up using to do the transaction. Or maybe they contacted the listing agent directly and did the transaction that way, and basically didn't contact you. That happens all the time, and that's something you want to avoid. You don't want that happening to you, where you go out there and you do showings, and you never hear from the buyers again, and that they don't end up if they end up purchasing the property, you don't have any documentation, you don't have anything, and there's nothing you could do beside just have wasted your time. And that's the whole purpose of this class today. Is I don't want that happening to you, whether you're a member of our brokerage or not. You definitely don't want to be doing something like that. That's a quick way. It's one of the main reasons why there's such a high turnover rate, why I think it's like out of every 10 individuals who get a real estate license, 9 of them usually get out of the business within the first 2 years. This is one of the main reasons, is they'll be doing showings, wasting their time and gas money, not making any money, just spending money doing showings, and the buyers disappear, never hear from them again, whether they bought that property or not. And we're in this business to make money. We're doing this as a profession. So if you do that for weeks and weeks on end and you're not making any money, you're probably going to give up at some point because you need to pay them bills or you need to make some money. That's the whole purpose of doing this as a profession. So one of the things is, if you're going to be doing showings, especially to like first-time clients, you can, it just depends. Sometimes you could want to use this, sometimes you don't, because if you ask people to sign something initially, they probably don't want to sign it. Also, this particular agreement down here in the compensation paragraph, it does have a language here that can be scary to buyers, that if the seller and listing office, if any, refuse to pay broker's compensation, buyer will pay broker's compensation upon broker's demand. So most of the time, if you're showing properties that are in like the MLS and they're saying they're offering a 2.5% commission, you're never going to run into that problem, but this type of language could bother and make people not want to sign this document. But if you're doing like, this is also a good document to use if you're doing for sale by owners. If someone said, hey, show me this property that's for sale by owner, and you contact the owner and they're telling you, I'm not paying any commission, and you could tell your buyer, like, listen, I'll go do a showing for you and represent you in this transaction and help you out, but I need to be compensated. So if the seller is not paying a commission, you'll have to pay a commission or whatever the amount is. So that's another area you could use this particular showing agreement for. It just comes down to, every relationship is different with the clients that you meet, and you just want to make sure that you don't steer people away and scare them away with telling them to sign something immediately, because that's usually what you don't want to do. Is when you first meet somebody, just tell them, here, sign this before we go out and do showings. You can. It's how you have that conversation needs to be treated very respectfully and carefully, because you want to, at the same time, protect yourself, but at the same time not steer them away and so forth. So you can give them this document in the beginning and say, hey, listen, we don't know each other. I don't mind doing this first showing at this particular property for us to meet, but and you can make this term between 1 day term of this agreement. So if you're doing a showing on the 23rd of June, you could just have it end on the 23rd of June, or the next day, the 24th, and just tell them, listen, I'll go and do this property showing for you, but I'm asking if you could sign this, because if you don't want to use me as your realtor, we don't know each other, maybe you have another realtor, and I can't force you to use me as your realtor, but if I'm going to invest my time into doing the showing and showing you the property, I want to be entitled to some compensation if you end up buying this property. And even saying it like that might not work, just because you're asking someone to sign something and they might just go find someone else who will show it to them without having them sign something. So it just depends. My recommendation is that use this particular showing agreement in specific special situations. For the initial showing, when working with buyers, especially in residential, if you're doing commercial, that's a whole other story. Even then, you wouldn't use this showing agreement. We have the special forms if you're doing commercial. Our brokerage has specific documentation for that's similar to this, but it's a brokerage made one, and if you're a member of our brokerage, we have that. But for residential, this is what I'm mainly speaking about here, is you want to, for the first showing, you probably don't want to have anyone sign anything. I'd recommend just, if you're not going to meet them at a property and do one showing, then meet them somewhere. Maybe you go get a cup of coffee somewhere like Starbucks, maybe you have your own executive suite or something, or you meet them really anywhere, just to establish a first face-to-face meeting and just talk about a few things, if you do that. Or maybe you feel your conversation is good on the phone and you could take it from there. But most of the time, it's usually like the first showing. You do the showing, have a little bit of a conversation, maybe get a cup of coffee afterwards, go get something to eat somewhere, maybe have a lunch, and just talk about a little bit of business to see if everyone's on the same page and can establish some type of positive rapport with each other. So yeah, that's what I recommend with that. This is the showing agreement. Like I said, use this in very specific situations. It's probably more seldom that you use this particular agreement, but there is a place for it, especially if you're going to be doing a showing for a one time. Maybe it's a pretty expensive property and you want to tell your clients, like, listen, the first time clients, I don't mind taking you to this single family home for sale, but the commission, it's like an $800,000 home, and you just want to be entitled to your commission if they end up using you or not, and you'd like for them to sign this agreement. But then again, that's not always the situation. Like I said, it just depends. And if you're a part of our brokerage and you're talking with a client, or you want to discuss further on training as far as when to use this and when not to use this, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer your questions and guide you in the right direction. So that's the showing agreement. Let's pull up the buyer brokerage agreement now and start talking about that. So give me a second here. Buyer. So there's a few of them. The exclusive buyer brokerage agreement, as you can see down here. I always recommend using the transaction broker. I always recommend operating as a transaction broker in the state of Florida. In my opinion, there's very seldom situations where you want to operate as a single agent. Just really, it's a lot more liability and adds more complications. I've made videos about discussing that. I'm not going to go into too detail about it for right now. I'm just going to give you my professional advice is to operate as a transaction broker, the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. So, transaction broker, let's click this here. Let's open this up. And this document's a little bit longer. I think it's like 3 pages. Let's see, yeah, 3 pages. So there's a few more things to fill in here, but this is a little bit better of a document. I don't always see everyone use this, but you can use this if I recommend not. You could use this in the beginning before you start doing a showing and just make the terms of it very short, maybe like a week term, and then you could re-sign a new one. Or you could use it and make it, a couple of months of a term on here. But basically, you would use this exclusive buyer brokerage agreement when you are going to be working with a buyer, of course, and you want to be entitled to your commission for whatever properties you're showing them to. Once again, not everyone wants to sign this agreement. There's special times and places to maybe use it. I recommend using it if you're going to be working with buyers. It also depends on the rapport with your clients. There's many veteran agents, and even myself, I've even done this, where if you have a good relationship with somebody, the conversation's going well, and they seem to be genuinely working with you, and they're not going to try to circumvent you, or they have another realtor, and you could ask them, you could let them know, like, listen, I normally have someone sign this buyer brokerage agreement because I've had situations where you might have a relative or you might have another realtor, but can you just let me know and be honest with me, or do you have someone else that you're going to be using as your realtor? If you don't like working with me, that's fine, but I don't want to be wasting my time going out and doing showings, and you're not going to use me to collect a commission. I do work for a living. If you start explaining these things to somebody, most of the time they're gonna be fairly honest with you, and they'll let you know, like, oh yeah, I have somebody else, or no, I'm not interested in just wasting your time. I'm sure there's some people out there that'll maybe lie to you and just use your time to just show them properties, and then they'll use another realtor anyways. I think majority of people in the world are not mean like that, but I'm sure they exist. I don't doubt it. So it really just depends on the type of person you're working with, but most of the time you could work off a verbal agreement with buyers, but if you want, you can have them sign this buyer brokerage agreement. Again, it's there's specific places that use this. I don't always recommend it, especially with residential real estate. A lot of times you can kind of steer individuals away with signing these buyer brokerage agreements, but sometimes people don't mind signing it. But usually, if you're good with conversation and you could establish a good rapport and a relationship with somebody, and just let them know these things transparently in a conversation, that if they're going to use you for the brokerage services, if they have another realtor, they don't have to use you, but if you're going to be doing showings, you want to be entitled to the commission and so forth. And see how they respond to the conversation. Depending on how they respond, if you feel a very good rapport with the individuals, then that's at your sole discretion to not have them sign anything, and you're just going to work off of a verbal agreement that they're going to use you as their realtor. It's sometimes even still a little dangerous to work like that, because you don't have anything in writing that entitles you to the commission unless you sign a sales contract with them. But if they want to circumvent you and sign it with the listing agent directly, they can. But in most situations, no one's really going to do that, especially if you have a good conversation with them and build a rapport. So I'd really recommend doing that and kind of staying away from these buyer brokerage agreement, and only really use them if maybe the conversations in the beginning, like the first meeting or the first couple of meetings with the clients, is maybe the rapport is just not there, or you feel a little not as good about the conversation. You feel a little, I guess, like the trust is not there. The rapport is just not there. I guess that's the best way for me to put it. And they still want to ask you to do showings, but you could explain it. If you just feel like the trust isn't there and the rapport just isn't built up yet, you could let them know, listen, I don't mind, I'll be more than happy to work with you, but would you mind signing this buyer brokerage agreement? I just want to make sure that if anything I introduce you to or any properties I do showings for, that I'm entitled to my commission regardless if you use me as your realtor or not. If they don't want to sign it and they're being uncooperative and so forth, then you have to make an executive decision whether you want to do things on verbal, continue with the relationship, or you just want to walk away from this client completely because they're not being very cooperative, or maybe the conversation and rapport is just, it's not going anywhere in a positive direction and you're just not feeling good about it. So let's start filling out this form, just so you know how to fill it out. I do have videos on YouTube about it, but we'll go through it a little slowly here to make sure it's filled out correctly. The buyer, just put the buyer's name here, Billy Bob, or whatever. If it's a company, put the company name there. If the buyer is buying something in a company name. Real estate broker, I usually just put the company name here, and the office here, in both places. Then of course, I always recommend you put your name. So you have that there. The term, you can do it for a week, a month. Don't go past anything of a year, I'd recommend. I usually never even do these contracts for a year. Usually it's like 4 months, 3 months, 6 months. And if you need to re-sign one, you'll re-sign one. So today's the 23rd. Let's just put the 23rd till the end of July. Sounds good. So filling out this part here, property, type of property. I have an autofill here because usually I fill it out like this: any property in the state of Florida. So you just cover everything that you're introducing them to. But if you want to fill this out like residential properties only, you can fill that in there too. Location, I usually put the entire state of Florida just to cover everything. But you could put, I don't know, Miami-Dade County, Orange County, Duval County, whatever the case may be. You could do something like that as well. Price range, I usually just cover the whole span of the price range, like 1,000 to like 100 million or something like that, just to cover everything, so you don't have to worry about too low or too. But you could change this. Maybe your client's only pre-approved for $300,000, so you could put something in there like 150,000 to 300,000. That's up to you. The next part here, buyer has been pre-approved. Maybe they're getting a loan, conventional loan, FHA. You could check mark this here, that buyer has been pre-approved by, you can put the mortgage originator here. Whatever the name is, whatever the bank, maybe it's Chase Bank, Bank of America, whatever it is here, you can put it there if they do have a pre-approval letter, just to get that established and out the way. So you could put that there, or you could leave this part blank. This part doesn't really matter too much, but if they have a pre-approval, you could put it there. Preferred terms and conditions, you can put things here. I'm not going to go into that in detail in this particular video. You could feel free to reach out to me if you're a part of our brokerage, if you have something specific you're looking to do and want to write something in here as far as any preferred terms and conditions. If you're not a part of our brokerage, the best I could recommend to you as far as putting something here is, the first thing is, number one, keep it simple. You don't want to be writing up anything that's complicated and very intricate and so forth, because then you can start getting into territory of things that you're not really supposed to be doing, and maybe legal situations and so forth. So just keep it simple here, and also talk to your broker if you have any questions about it there, what to put. The best I could recommend here is, number one, keep it simple. Number two is to try to just write short sentences, short, straight to the point, just short sentences. You don't want to be writing these big paragraphs about things, just something that could be done in like a sentence or two. Keep it simple. So I'm not going to put anything there. Contact your broker if you need any further questions about what you're doing, or you can reach out in the chat. If you're part of our brokerage, you know where to contact me to ask about something you're looking to do. If you have to fill that in there, these are just paragraphs to read through. Retainer. I never see anyone fill out the retainer paragraph, to be honest, but you could fill out the retainer fee. Most of the time, if you tell someone, I I need like, I don't know, $500 a week or $500 a month to be searching properties for you. You could put that here. But I have seen this filled out a couple of times with certain realtors, even myself, when maybe a client asks you to do something that's very time consuming, and you could let them know, like maybe they're trying to have you search for like for sale by owner properties, or do search for like go out and drive around somewhere and search for things that are usually off market or something like that, or drive in a particular like city that is far away to look for things. In this case, you can ask for a retainer fee and let them know, like, listen, I'll drive to this very far away city and do some research and search for things for you, but I need to be paid for doing this up front. I need a retainer fee. So that's when you could use this particular agreement for that. And that's most of the situations where I've seen the retainer agreement filled in. Like if you're going to drive in a city that's like 4 hours away, 3 hours away, and you're going to be doing some driving around there, researching, taking down information, looking at lots of land for the client, and you can let them know, like, hey, I need a $500 retainer fee to take care of that, or whatever. You could put whatever price here, $1,000, $5,000. If you're gonna, I don't know, maybe they want you to fly to another state or something like that, or another part of the state to take care of something. You could put that there, and checkmark will not be credited. The compensation is usually how you would put it, but if it will be credited, you click this here. But that's as far as the retainer, like what I've seen it used for. I've never really seen anyone say, like, hey, if you're in Miami-Dade County and they tell you, hey, I'll search for properties for you, but you need to sign this buyer brokerage agreement. I need, I don't know, $500, $200 a month just for looking for properties and investing my time into you. It's usually a fast way to get business, people to turn away business. But proceed at your discretion and how you feel is best. But most of the time, whenever I've seen the retainer agreement used, it's for if your clients want you to do something that is very time consuming, and you need to be compensated prior to doing these things. Like I said, driving a far distance or doing extensive research. Compensation paragraph. You can fill this in like we did the showing agreement. You can put something here, like whatever it is, 3%. If it's a different amount, you put it there. I usually never fill out the lease or the option paragraph here, but if you're working with someone who's looking to do a lease, you could check mark that here and so forth, whatever it is. Usually it's always a percentage of the total purchase price, but you proceed accordingly. So let's just say it's 3% here. Protection period. Usually don't do anything more than 90 days. You can read through this paragraph, but I usually put 90 days there. If you have questions about this, feel free to ask, but I'm just going to put that and move along. I think that's the end of this particular, yep, that's it. Special clauses, if you're going to be doing that, once again, talk to your broker, keep it simple. Don't write a big paragraph, a couple of sentences is good. Other than that, everyone dates and signs. You date and sign it. And that's it, everyone initials each page. But that's the buyer brokerage agreement. Once again, just to reiterate on it, there's a time and a place to use this. When you're working residential and you're working with buyers or renters, you can use this in the showing agreement. I recommend using it in very specific circumstances. A lot of the times, it's sometimes better off because most realtors nowadays, they don't really ask for buyers to sign anything. I'm sure some do, and you can. It depends how you approach this conversation. Once again, I don't recommend doing it immediately before you meet the people. Like if the first phone conversation, you can, depending on if I don't know, if you're buying leads from like Realtor.com, and someone contacts you and says, hey John, I want to go see this property over here. That's $700,000, and you tell them, sure, I could take you out there, but I am going to ask you, can you sign this showing agreement, because we don't know each other. I don't know if you have another realtor, or if you're working with somebody, or if you're going to try and work with the listing agent directly. So if you want me to do the showing for you, no problem, I'll go out and do the showing, but I want to be entitled to my commission if I do this showing for you, and I don't want you to circumvent me out of the deal. You don't have to use me to represent you, but if I'm going to be doing the showing, I would like to be entitled to my commission, and this documentation protects me for that. It's just the one-time showing agreement. Most of the time, everyone will just sign that agreement in that situation, but not always. I'm sure you'll run into some individuals. I've even ran into some that they tell you, well, why am I signing this? Well, why do I have to just show me the property and so forth? And usually, if they're acting like that, that's usually something doesn't look too good and sound too good, because why don't they want to, do they just want you to do the showing and they just have someone else in mind that's going to get the commission? So in that situation, I don't know, you might want to do the showing. You might want to just tell them, no, I can't do it without the showing agreement signed. So if you don't want to sign the showing agreement, I can't assist you. And that's hard to do, especially if you're paying for leads and so forth, or you're paying a lot of money in advertising. You don't want to just turn away the business like that. Sometimes you might want to take the little risk. So it just depends. A lot of times, I'd recommend, if they don't want to sign it or anything like that, and you ask them, you can take the risk. I really don't want you or anyone else to run into a situation like I kind of did when I first started as an agent. People, you do showings for an individual and then you don't hear from them ever again. And maybe they have another realtor that they used and so forth. But that does happen. I think that's going to happen regardless if you have them sign this agreement or not. There's going to be situations where you might do a couple of showings for someone, and whether you just can't find them what they're looking for, their criteria is just too strict, and you can't find that type of property in that price range. And then you have to, kind of let the buyer go at that point, because you can't keep investing your time and do 100 showings, waste all that gas, waste all that time looking for something that it's just not happening. You're just wasting your money at that point, and time is money, and gas is money too. Nowadays is a very large amount of money, so you have to be careful. And because you don't want to just be spending money and not making any money and getting things under contract. So at the end of the day, what's important to take from these agreements that I've shown you and just working with buyers in general is have conversations. Try to build a rapport and try to ask questions and try to explain to the clients in the beginning that you don't want them to sign anything and you prefer not to, or you don't even have to say that. You just want to get the point across that you don't want to run into a situation where you're showing them properties and they have another realtor they're working with. They don't want to work with you. Basically, you want to establish the fact that you'll do a showing or two for them or whatever, and if they want to continue to work with you, that's great. We could work together. But if whatever reason we don't want to work together, that's completely fine. But for whatever properties I show you or introduce you to, I would want to be entitled to my commission for that, regardless if you want to use me to represent you or not, because I've introduced you to these properties, so I should be compensated my commission, and I don't want to be circumvented out of the deal there. So that's mainly the conversation you want to have. I could talk a little bit more about that, because I feel it's pretty important. You definitely want to, you don't want that happening, and it might happen here or there. You might run into a situation with a client and they just don't care about you, and they just care about showing you the property. They just want to see that particular listing. They don't really care about using you to represent them or your commission or anything like that. So you have to be careful, because you're going to run into individuals like that. Is it everybody? No, not everyone's like that. But you just have to be mindful and just keep an eye open, because it can happen. And the last thing you want to do is be out there working for free. That's one of the main reasons and topics of how you could how really people who first get into the industry, first get their license, and then they get right out of the industry after like the first year or two, is because they're getting their time being wasted going around doing a bunch of showings, people not communicating with them or responding. And in the beginning, especially if you're new, you need time to learn. You're not going to know how to have these conversations with everyone. You might not have all the real estate knowledge that you would like to have, and you're still in the learning phase. But you want to be able to start making some money, because you don't want to keep just spending money and not becoming back with any type of return on your investment, whether your investment's time or into advertising. So just be careful. There are places to use this showing agreement and the buyer brokerage agreement. I recommend using them, but before you use them, I'd recommend first that you have a conversation. And if you're with our brokerage or you want to reach out to me, I could, I do provide training and mentorship throughout the day and throughout, I do these classes every Tuesday and Thursday and talk about it. like I am now, but I also do mentorship, throughout the day, Monday through Friday, pretty much. I do private Zoom calls and so forth, just mentoring and giving advice on how to talk to individuals for the first time in the first time meeting a client, how to build a rapport, how to have conversations and ask them questions. And you want to ask questions, but at the same time, you want to do a lot of listening too, because listening is very important. You want to hear what the clients have to say, and you want to have them try to open up and talk about what their needs are, what they're looking for, and just see, just hear them out and see what they're looking for and see if you could help them. You can't help everybody as much as we'd like to. You just can't help everyone. But if you have to listen to individuals and see if you could help them, if what they're looking for is something realistic and something you can help them find. But at the same time, you also want to have that conversation that you let them know that you're basically, you're not here to. You want to have your interests protected as well as their interests protected. And you want to make sure that you're entitled to your commission for any properties that you show. But if you build a conversation, build a good rapport, you won't have to run into that situation where you're asking them to sign these things. But if you feel like the trust isn't there, or the rapport isn't built up yet, or if it's a first time showing for maybe a big property, a big expensive property, you could ask them to sign that showing agreement, and you'll have to make the decision if they don't want to sign it, whether you want to tell them you have to sign this, otherwise I won't show it to you, or if you want to take that first risk and just go out there and do the showing without it. It's hard to say. In some situations, I'd say, especially if you're not really getting much business going on, you might want to take that little risk and do the showing. But then it's really, heartbreaking and aggravating if you do the showing and then you never hear from that client again. They don't want you showing them any other property. They just want to see that one house. And even if they didn't end up buying that house, you went out there, wasted your time, did that one showing, and then they didn't want to buy the house. And they don't even really want to work with you. They just want to see that one property. And even if you have them sign that showing agreement, that can happen too. You could take them out to that one listing, they sign the showing agreement, they say, "Nah, I don't like this house, it's not what I'm looking for." And then you never hear from them again. Maybe they have someone else they're working with, they just want to go see that one house that one day. So that gets into another conversation that you want to have with individuals, before you take them out to a property. Because you don't just want to have someone call your phone and you're excited. You just want to go do the showing. You want to ask them a few questions, and ask them, like, listen, are you, actively looking for properties? Is this the only property that you're interested in? Are you looking for a realtor to work with? Because that's probably more of an important conversation. Is you want to ask them, like, are they looking for a realtor to work with and someone to help them? And just to show them properties, not just this property that they're interested in, but other properties, new stuff that comes on the market. If they're not interested in that, I don't recommend working with them under any circumstance, regardless if you're paying for the leads or business is a little bit slow. If someone contacts you and they just care about that one showing, that one property, and you're asking them, are they looking for a realtor? Are they interested in working with you and maybe establishing a relationship? If they're just not being cooperative and they don't care, they're not looking to work with a realtor or anything, you don't want to invest your time into someone like that, because that's the last thing you want to do is invest your time, an hour or so, or several hours out of your day to go and drive somewhere to do a showing. You're paying for your super key or whatever realtor membership. You're spending money on driving there to get dressed to go there and everything, to go do a showing, for someone to just see this one property and say, "Oh, hey, thank you very much, have a good day," and never hear from them again, whether you had them sign that showing agreement or not. That's the last thing you want to be doing. That's a quick way to get very frustrated and to just quit in real estate and say, "This is not for me, I need to go do something else." And people, that can't happen. That happened to me in the beginning, and it was a learning experience. I didn't have anyone to really mentor me. A lot of the brokers I worked for in the beginning, they were just like, "Yeah, just go do showings for everybody." And a lot of brokerages are like that. I'm not saying every brokerage is like that, but a lot of brokerages, they're not paying anything to you. You're an independent contractor. Most of the time, you're not on the salary. You're not even being paid hourly. You're just being paid a portion of the commission if you close anything. And you're out there working for free, essentially. So the brokerages advise new agents, like, yeah, just whoever contacts you, go out and do showings, show properties to everybody and anybody, just because they're not wasting their money. It's your money that you're wasting, and they don't care about your money. And I don't, our brokerage doesn't operate like that. I don't recommend anyone to do that, regardless if it's not my money being spent. I don't want anyone that I'm working with to be operating like that. and get traumatized or have a bad situation and just get out of the business. I want that person to do things correctly. I want you to do things correctly, protect yourself, and make money, especially if you're a member of our brokerage, because if you're making money, our brokerage is making money, and that's just a good business relationship. So I know I'm talking a little bit here, but these are things that I feel are very important as far as today's class, working with buyers, and just how to have these conversations with people, because I don't want realtors to have these bad experiences that really affected me in the beginning and made me waste a lot of time and my money, and I had to learn the hard way without anyone mentoring me. Because some individuals, when you first get into real estate, a lot of times you don't know much and you're in the learning phase, and I don't want this to happen to anyone who is willing to listen to my advice. So really, if you want to take anything from today's class, is when you first get introduced to buyers, all these documents I showed you can use these, but have a conversation. Have a conversation with these individuals. See if they're looking for help. If they need help, they need a realtor, someone who's going to help them find properties, help them get what they want. That's what's important. People don't care about whether you're going to, of course it's important that you answer your phone, you're responsive, you communicate well. All those things are important, but at the end of the day, you need to bring some type of value to the client, whether it be helping them make more money, helping them save more money, helping them find properties, the newest listings, or good properties, and find them immediately and get the offers done so that they get the property that they want. You need to bring value to them. So however you're bringing value, you need to figure that out, and that needs to be what you're going to offer to these particular clients and why they're going to work with you, because that's what's important at the end of the day. You need to be making some money, making someone some money, saving them some money, or bringing some type of value to them in some form way. So that's definitely what's important there. But definitely have a conversation with them and explain that, if they're looking for a realtor to work with, and try to establish a rapport, and just, basically tell them, let's see if we can work together. We may enjoy working with each other and build a good business rapport. We may not like each other, and we may not be able to work together, and that's fine. You can't work with, not everyone gets along, in which case you could go your separate ways. But the last thing you want to be doing is just having someone contact you and just says, hey, come do the showing for me. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Never hear from them again. You want to kind of work with people and see what they're looking for, and then see if it's something that makes sense and it's realistic. Someone contacts you and they're saying, hey, I want a 5-bedroom, 5-bath house. My budget's only $100,000, and I'm looking to live in over on the beach in Miami or something like that. If it's something unrealistic like that, you may want to question a few things if that's worth your time investing to do those showings. To just have that conversation. Take your time with the buyers. See if you guys could build a rapport. That's really it. Have a conversation, build a rapport, see if you could bring value to the clients and what they're looking for, and try to establish that, if they're looking for a realtor to work with, and to help them out with searching for properties. Because if they're not, then I don't recommend working with those clients like that. If they're not interested in even hearing you out to see if you guys could work together, if they're not interested in even considering that, probably not the best idea to continue forward from there. But if you explain to them these type of things and say, I'm here to see if I could bring value to your whatever you're looking for, whether it's saving you money, making you money, or finding a property, or bringing some type of value. If you can have that conversation and get on a good rapport and things can make sense, then you could probably move forward from there. And then if you're having good conversations like that, a lot of times you don't need these buyer brokerage agreements or showing agreements. I recommend using them, but if you're having really good conversations and your buyers are very cooperative with you, they trust you, you're having a good relationship, they follow your advice, and you're just building a good rapport from there. A lot of times that's why a lot of buyers or realtors, they don't use these particular agreements, but I still think it's good to use them from time to time. And the showing agreement's good too. But like I said, have those conversations, try to build a rapport, and see if you could bring any type of value to your potential clients, because that's what's really important at the end of the day. That's what's going to get you business, and that's what's going to help you reduce the amount of time that you're wasting just doing showings for anybody who's just wants to see the property, or is not really interested in using your services to retain your services as their realtor. So keep all those things in mind. I hope today's class was helpful. If anything we discussed in this video is you have further questions about it, feel free to reach out. Once again, our brokerage is NIS Realty Inc. I'll go back to our website here. We're licensed in the state of Florida, other states hopefully soon. We pay all of our agents 100% of your real estate commission if that's something you're interested in and you're licensed in the state of Florida. Feel free to reach out to us for a free confidential consultation. Here's our plans that we offer here. I could zoom in a little bit. These are the two plans and the only fees that we have. You keep 100% of your commission. So it's it's a good structure if you're trying to keep all of your profits. And I do these classes every Tuesdays and Thursdays for free to everyone to view. I go over different contracts, give advice and so forth, have conversations with individuals in the chat if anyone's here and has a question. So feel free to reach out. If you like the videos or the content of our channel, please I'd appreciate a subscribe. It doesn't cost you a single penny. You just got to click that button and just subscribe to the channel. It costs zero money, not a single penny, and it really helps out the channel if you subscribe, leave a like on the video, comment, ring the notification bell whenever I go live or put up new videos. It really does help a lot, and it would be helpful if you could help promote our channel and help it grow. It doesn't cost anything to help us grow our YouTube channel. But enough of that. I hope today's class was useful, and we'll see you next week. Feel free to reach out if you have any further questions. Thank you, and have a good evening, everyone. Take care.